Hey everyone, and welcome to What Did I Miss?, where today I'll be breaking down the Season 3 premiere episode of Star Trek Lower Decks and looking for all the Easter eggs and references that you may have missed. I thought that this was a great episode that brought us back into the world of the USS Cerritos by presenting the audience with a classic Trek-style rescue mission, but having it play out as it should considering the cast of the show. In most cases, the A-plot of the episode would be the heroic actions of the crew saving the day, but that isn't what this show is meant to be about. Lower Decks reminds us that this is an exploration into the lives of Starfleet officers that are not the best of the best, but rather these are officers that are still trying to find their way and figure themselves out. Honestly, it would have been a letdown if the season started out with the Lower Decks crew saving the day and all of a sudden acting like a competent crew after being introduced in the first season as anything but that. I'm looking at you, Orville. I also noticed that there were quite a few references to time travel and otherwise out-of-time characters in this episode, and I wonder if this will be a trend this season, since we know that at least one episode will have Ensign Boimler and Mariner traveling back in time and visiting with the crew of the USS Enterprise on Strange New Worlds. But before we get there, I want to thank you for clicking on this video and ask that if you do enjoy it to please hit the like and subscribe buttons to help my videos reach more people. The episode begins with a broadcast from the station FNN, or the Federation News Network, that was first introduced in live form during the first season of Star Trek Picard. The commentator Sylvia Rant, who I believe is drawn to resemble MSNBC commentator Rachel Maddow, basically reviews the events that occurred at the end of last season, in which Captain Freeman was taken away by Starfleet security after being framed for an event on Pakled Planet. The first season of Strange New Worlds also ended with a bridge officer being taken into custody. In that case, it was First Officer Una Chin Riley being arrested for being from a genetically altered race. Again, I can't wait for these two crews to meet up, as they are two of my favorite new Trek shows. Let me know in the comments which crew right now is your favorite of the 5 new Star Trek shows currently in some state of production. While Sylvia Rant is catching up the audience on the current events, the news ticker beneath her contains some really funny references to past characters and events. The first is a story about Captain Jellicoe banning the Zebulon sisters from active duty. This popular singing duo has now been mentioned on every season of Lower Decks, first in the first season episode Terminal Provocations, and then briefly in the second season episode We'll Always Have Tom Paris. They, along with their Choo Choo dance, are no doubt a reference to the recurring characters from Saturday Night Live's past, the Sweeney Sisters. Captain Jellicoe is one of the more infamous guest stars ever to appear on The Next Generation, and was played by popular sci-fi actor Ronnie Cox in the 2-part episode Chain of Command. There's also a story about the London Kings being beaten by the Buffalo Solar Knights in the ELDS. These are no doubt baseball teams playing in the Earth League Division Series, as the London Kings were the team that one of Benjamin Sisko's favorite players, Buck Buckeye, played for in the 21st century. There is a story about a Zach Dorn child being the youngest Strategema Grandmaster. Data played this game against a member of the Zach Dorn in the Next Generation episode Peak Performance. The actor who played the Zach Dorn in that episode, Roy Brocksmith, played a role in the sci-fi classic movie Total Recall, a film that also starred the aforementioned Ronnie Cox. Finally, there's a story about a stampede at a Sonny Clemens concert. LD Sonny Clemens is a character that was cryogenically frozen in 1994 and was then found by the Next Generation crew in 2364 during the first act of the episode The Neutral Zone. We then see Beckett Mariner with her father as she expresses her distrust in the system, even though her father begs her to trust it. He contacts a good friend named Admiral Buen Amigo, which I believe translates from Spanish as good friend. This character is voiced by Carlos Alazraqui, who besides being known as Officer James Garcia on Reno 911, is also the father of 11-year-old actress Riley Alazraqui, who voices the character Rok-Tahk on the other Star Trek animated show Prodigy. We then cut to the intro for the show, and I noticed that it has been updated for the season, most notably during the end battle, which now contains the crystalline entity, a being that was first introduced in the Next Generation episode Data Lore. Mariner goes to find Boimler, who is working on his family raisin farm. This is a reference to the Chateau Picard vineyard that Jean-Luc Picard would call home, and Boimler is even wearing the same outfit that a future version of Picard wore in the final episode of The Next Generation titled All Good Things. After Boimler agrees to help Mariner by providing her with the logs that he kept, they travel to Sisko's Creole Kitchen to find Rutherford and Tendi. This restaurant is owned by Benjamin Sisko's father, and he and his son Jake would visit it from time to time during the series Deep Space Nine. Speaking of Jake Sisko, when the two find Rutherford, he's wearing a sweater that Jake wore during his time on the station. At Sisko's, they serve Ketracel White Hot Sauce, a reference to the drug that the Jem'Hadar was shown to be addicted to on Deep Space Nine. After meeting with a nice old transporter chief, The group head to Bozeman, Montana, and the site of First Contact. This amusement park is ripe with references to the film and event First Contact, which depicted when the Vulcans made formal first contact with the people of Earth, including a statue that was referenced by Jodie LaForge in the film.
You're standing almost on the exact spot where your statue's gonna be. And you're looking up at the sky, and your hands sort of reaching toward the future.
Throughout the park, we see a hologram of Zefram Cochrane, voiced by returning actor James Cromwell. Besides playing the role in the film and returning for one episode of Star Trek Enterprise, Mr. Cromwell has appeared as 3 other characters on The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. They come upon a replica of the Phoenix that has been turned into a ride at the park. It was revealed in the film First Contact that the actual Phoenix is in the Smithsonian Museum.
I must have seen this ship hundreds of times in the Smithsonian, but I was never able to touch it.
The Cochrane hologram starts the vessel after playing the song Magic Carpet Ride, another reference back to the film First Contact. When they arrive on the Cerritos, she is still missing her outer hull. This was done during the last episode of the second season, titled First Contact, in an effort to keep the ship from being damaged further and eventually being able to save the USS Archimedes. They go to find the logs, but learn that they are mostly useless due to Boimler including personal information on them. One log does reveal that Boimler's hair is not naturally purple and that he dyes it. There has been some question as to what species Boimler is and if he is actually human, so this could be a clue that he is hiding something about his heritage. The Lower Decks crew are unable to leave orbit after fighting among themselves, and Starfleet security eventually catch up with them. Captain Freeman returns and informs them that she was saved by Starfleet and a secret team led by Captain Morgan Bateson. This is another out-of-time character who was caught in a temporal distortion for close to 100 years until he was found by the crew of The Next Generation in the episode Cause and Effect. Ironically, when he was found by the USS Enterprise D, Captain Bateson was serving on the USS Bozeman, named after Bozeman, Montana, which was also featured in this episode of Lower Decks. If you are wondering why the city is referenced so often in Star Trek, Bozeman is where Brandon Braga was born.
Oh, no, not the beast! Not the beast!
Mr. Braga has created episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Trek Voyager, and Star Trek Enterprise, as well as worked on the screenplays for the films Star Trek Generations and Star Trek First Contact. He is now working as one of the producers on the sci-fi series The Orville.
He's a traitor. Don't forget that.
Also involved in Starfleet's plan to save the captain is Commander Tuvok, who of course is a character from the series Star Trek Voyager. While the captain is telling the audience how Starfleet saved her, she references a Samaritan snare. This is the title of the episode of The Next Generation that first introduced the alien species the Packlids in the show's second season. The episode ends with the captain berating Mariner for not listening to her and going off on her own. I really enjoyed how this episode ended because, like I said earlier, I believe that this show stayed true to its roots by not allowing the cast to be the saviors. If their plan had worked, then really this episode would have played out like many other stories we have seen before on Star Trek. But Lower Decks is different because these characters are not ready to make the big decisions that save the day. This is a series about a group of ensigns who are trying to build themselves into great officers but are not there yet, and this episode proved that they still have a ways to go to get there. But that is just what I saw. Let me know in the comments what you thought of this episode and how you think Lower Decks stacks up against the other Star Trek shows. Well, that is all I have for this week, but let me know in the comments if I missed anything. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please hit that like button if you have enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time on What Did I Miss?